pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilwoman Green?
Present.
Councilwoman Shane?
Here.
Councilman Hoyt?
Here.
Councilman Tusky?
Here.
Supervisor London?
Here.
All right, this is a workshop meeting to discuss budget and finance issues and ask questions of our bookkeeper, Wendy Ashley, who's also here in attendance, and Highway Superintendent Jared Bouchard's here as well. All right, I'd like to open the meeting by thanking bookkeeper Ashley for allowing us this time with her, and let's get underway.
Thank you.
Who is that?
Yeah.
Right, would you like to start, Councilwoman Green?
If you want me to, I don't mind. I have the operating statement in front of me from July 31st.
Copies if you guys need. So, general fund or highway?
General.
Okay.
I was just started up the town board personnel services. What are the fluctuations? What causes them? Because January was 980, February was 865. I know some of it might have been with Steve.
Yeah, I believe you had someone new take office at the end of last year. Is that
Steve started in January and he resigned in February.
right? But I think there was a carryover. Hang on, a moment. Okay, so what I can see is in, oh, I wonder if this, when did you take office?
March.
Yeah, some of that had to do with you.
Yeah, I got overpaid
Yeah,
for two.
so, right, so then I had to do that correction. And-
where I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Where I was overpaid, was that credited back to the,
Yeah, that was
Town clerk's
credited,
account.
yep, that was credited back, 3/21.
to the town?
So that I
clerk's?
could,
Personnel service.
I made that adjustment.
Thank you.
And then Steve was paid bi-weekly
Okay.
instead of monthly. So when he was no longer a council member, that would have changed the amounts going forward. And then you, let's see,
So it's
then
payroll.
you had 2 months of someone not in the position, would that be correct?
Not for the board, immediately in March, Councilwoman Green was appointed. Actually, she was
Right, but he
appointed-
left in February.
Right,
Right, so,
I see.
So 1 month.
right, so you have that fluctuation. He left mid-February, you didn't come in until March. So that's the fluctuation going on there.
The independent auditing and accounting, what is that $500 for?
That's for me filing the AUD.
Okay, but last year that was paid out of the personnel service.
It is paid out of the personnel services. You budget it one place and it has to be paid as a personnel service because I am an employee of the town. I can also not be paid as an independent contractor. You can be one or the other, you cannot be both.
Okay, so should that be moved into?
It should be budgeted in the
Into the
personnel
system.
services line item, yes.
The buildings personnel services, is that for Ryan? For mowing? What is that?
1620?
Yes.
1621. If he's coded there, yes, but most likely that's the cleaning person. No, she's on
She's
1099.
contractual. She's under buildings contractual, right?
Yeah, I can look up and see who that is. It's different every pay period. So it's depending on where they're coded when they come to me for payroll. If it says buildings, that's where it's going to get coded. Because we had someone else that sometimes does some work on the buildings too.
So you can answer on that.
You want to know the specific people that is every month?
Well, I was just wondering what buildings personnel service, I don't know. So I wasn't sure if it was, I thought maybe Ryan got charged under that, I don't know. And then I also see that, like, equipment lines were added, which were all the computers. I believe, is what that charge was.
Yeah.
But vouchers were signed for them to be done under
It's a fixed asset, you have to pay it under contractual. It's greater than, they were valued at greater than $500.
Right.
So it's a fixed asset at that point. So I coded it where it's appropriate.
okay. But I'm just, because vouchers were signed for them to be paid under the contractual.
So what's your preference at that point? Would you like me not to process them because you
No.
proved them incorrectly?
I'm just saying, we have lines added and they're being paid under something other than what the town board signed.
Okay, and I'm asking you what you would like me to do when you do that.
I think that would have to be something we decide as a whole board,
Okay?
and not me. I'm not,
Okay, so,
so I don't know how the board feels about that.
I prefer we adhere to proper fiscal practice as far as Wendy's recommendation. This is the first I've heard that you had, or that there was an issue with that.
Well, this is the first month this has been added to this report.
Okay, so this right now, this moment is the first I've heard you have questions about that, so that's.
I just got this report 2 days.
yeah,
3
it's
days
one thing
ago.
or, it's one thing or the other, right? Either you want me to add the codes so that I can pay the bill that you've authorized to be paid, or I don't pay it because the coding is incorrect. Or I pay it in the incorrect coding. And those are your three basic. But if I also recall correctly, there's not a list of fixed assets vetted down either.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I know that's due like in September or whatever, but I have no idea.
It was not on the AUD when I came into office, so I'm assuming that somebody does not keep that list.
Nothing covers is fixed access on buildings.
Yeah, it's, your threshold is $500, sir, so anything you purchase that's greater than $500 of equipment or computer.
Conditioning.
Yep, anything like that needs to be coded to a 200 series asset code, not to a 400 series.
it makes sense for them to be under equipment. I totally understand that, but I didn't, with the lines being added, I
Yep, I completely
was
understand.
like, we haven't even used these lines, so we don't. Okay, and then my other question, paying when the budget line is overspent already. I don't like to do that.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you what the rule is. You don't have the authority to do that. If there is no money in the line item when the bills are presented to you for payment, you're not authorized to authorize payment. So what do you want to do? As a board, what do you want to do to fix that? Every place outside work does their budget adjustment before they authorize the bills.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
but we,
But you've never done that here, as far as I can see.
yeah, and I have a hard time saying, it would be like, I feel like I'm writing a bounced check by authorizing payments to be made when there's no money on that line.
It's not a bounce check.
It's
I know, it's not. I understand it's not.
Don't make
but
it
it's
sound
still-
like we don't have money. I
When
don't
you
want
see
people to
zero,
start
you
thinking
know.
about that, but
No,
the rules are very clear on it. If there's no money in the line item to pay the bill, then you shouldn't do it. So if as a board you'd like to change that, then you have to implement
that transfer.
procedures in order to take care of that.
It could be as simple as every monthly meeting, do a transfer. Do a blanket transfer, like a resolution authorizing the transfers to cover the bills.
No, because you'd have, I can't just arbitrarily do that, right? You're gonna have to instruct me where you want the funds taken from and where you want them put
Before
before you approve the abstract to be paid.
so it's an amendment to the budget. Whatever you call it,
It's
amendment
just,
or a
I know, you're
transfer.
just doing a budget transfer,
Yeah.
you know, and you have several different types of transfers. You can do transfers between budget codes, your expenditure codes. You can have an increase in a revenue line item and an increase in a budget line item. The one that Jared and I were talking about earlier was he sold a truck. So you'll see on the highway report, you have a sale of scrap. I think it's
But it should
11,200.
be equipment, correct?
I'm sorry?
It should be under equipment, that sale.
No, you're selling a piece of equipment. It's revenue.
But wasn't it a sale of equipment?
There is no sale of equipment. There's sale of scrap.
Okay.
I mean, I can check on that, but I've never processed anything as sale of equipment. There might be a code out there for sale of equipment. I can double check on that. But, so what, in that instance, you can do is you can increase the sale of scrap revenue and then increase the budget line item where the truck was purchased from. Still didn't cover the whole cost of the truck, so those are the other conversations that you would need to have. Or if it's his responsibility for his budget, then he would have to make those recommendations for the budget adjustments in the TA fund.
So does that have to be done on a transfer of funds, whether it's revenue or whether it's to pay a bill? Do you have to have a memo from the board before you can transfer?
Right, but as long as you approve it before you approve the bills, I would do the budget adjustment before I pay the bills.
But does something have to come from us?
It comes through on either I usually take it as the agenda, because I can't wait for the minutes, right? I can't wait for the next month to
So
get
like
the
a
minutes.
resolution.
Yeah, so if, I'm not familiar enough with how you present your agenda. Other places that I work, it's right on the agenda. They have a line item for budget adjustments. The budget adjustments are all right there. I get that from the clerk the day after the meeting, along with the bills, and then I pay it. I do the adjustments and I pay the bills.
So we would still do the adjustment in
Yeah.
the meeting?
Yeah,
Right,
Yeah.
authorize the adjustment. right?
yeah,
Yeah.
And
And that would be right in the minutes.
yes. It's gonna have to be on the agenda because I can't wait for the
Yeah.
minutes.
There's always budget transfer.
Yes.
Right.
They can be approved.
And that's not extra time or anything for you.
Just a little bit,
Yeah.
but it
Right.
makes it
No.
all appropriate what we're doing,
Right.
so it's appreciated.
It's all
Right.
right.
There's 2 lines under sale of scrap and sale of equipment.
Is there one for sale of equipment?
Yeah.
I can move that then. I gotta make sure, because some of the codes that you folks had here when I came into office weren't really legitimate codes. Yeah, let me check on that for you.
Okay.
Doesn't sound like
And if both, if it's scrap or equipment, as long as it's together on a line, because we have, the budget line has sale of equipment.
Yeah, so that, they may have, he's not here, but he may have budgeted $10,000 in sale of equipment knowing he was gonna sell the truck, and I just wasn't aware of that. Did that come through on your? No, it would have just come as a separate check. Yeah, and sometimes the documentation that comes with stuff leaves a lot to my interpretation. No fault of anybody's, it's just, somebody sends you an $11,000 check and says, thank you. I say, thank you, I'll take it.
Nice, right?
Yeah. I can move it, I can move that.
On my end, if it's sale of scrap that Jared has cleaned up from the highway garage and stuff, I put that under that.
Okay,
And then for,
equipment would be anything that we had,
no, the scrap sales from trash recycle goes for trash recycle. It goes under that income.
yeah,
So I have to check with them once in a while. And as far
What
as
is
truck
it?
sales,
that doesn't appear,
I
that would
don't
be
see
just
a
a
check.
check
I don't
paper
see
that
it.
you would have gotten, and then I would have, okay, yep, I can move that.
We'll have to just figure out how we want to like do budget transfers or whatever.
Yeah, Mindy said earlier, we've got to implement the procedures, so we should write up some procedures about how we're gonna do that. So we haven't done it to date so far, so.
And then,
Procedures for the transfers.
Yes, to do what she was talking about on the agenda. Use budget
I think, the petty cash on the general fund, I think is okay now to be issued. I don't know how that works. I guess I have a question. Because we had the $500 that was Noel's for the youth group, and that was returned back in the town, but it still always showed under the petty cash. And then,
I'm looking at somebody to tell me when it came back.
would have
Turned
been
it in
like last year.
when she resigned and left.
Yeah, she resigned at the end of 2022.
We'll look for that then.
Well, now it was issued back to the youth program, so I'm gonna say our general fund petty cash is okay now.
Oh, okay.
I think. I just don't know where it fluctuated the difference before.
So here's my recommendation for petty cash. At the end of every fiscal year, there should be a full accounting of everybody's petty cash. No matter who has it, they should show up with their petty cash and their petty cash receipts, and it should balance out to whatever they were given. And that would be, when you do your audit of your books, that might be a good time to have those folks come in.
That's all I had on the general fund.
Has he got a client up there, or what's going on? You know what I mean, if we're moving the highway, that needs to be down here.
Well, not really.
Well, he's the highway superintendent, so yeah, really.
I just had 2 little questions that I want to know about it before the budget, we work on it. I was curious on the total amount of money we made in recycling. Like, and,
Last year?
yeah, yes, and, like the money on how much was paid out for employment too.
No, I think I need you to be a little more specific. I apologize.
No, I just was curious how much we brought in for the recycling and then how much
the
we
transfer
spent
station?
out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and then how much we spent out.
Yeah.
It's gonna be-
And then also employment. I would like to look
But
at.
recycling is the general fund,
Mhm.
not the highway.
Right.
All right, sorry.
You're fine, you're fine, I'm sorry. to
That's okay.
throw
No,
you
so-
off.
oh, wait a minute. Just have a moment. All right.
I'm just kind of looking to add some more hours to the recycling center.
Okay, so do you have the AUD?
I don't.
Okay, but I can just read from it so that you have
Here,
it.
she's gonna read it.
Okay.
So last year in refuse and garbage charges, there was $30,494. I'm rounding, I'm not doing
Okay,
things.
that's fine.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, that was the
494.
income.
Yep, that was the
Yeah.
income, and then 8160. We spent 32,893. That includes contractual and personnel services.
Oh, that was the personnel, okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Do you want the breakdown?
Yes, please.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep.
So the personnel services was 6,832, and the contractual was 26,060.
Contractual would be paying county waste and
That's paying.
Yep,
right,
yep.
and stuff. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
moving on to highway. But
Did anybody else have any questions on
What
general?
are we getting in our money market?
Actually, I have recommended to my other clients that they look into your bank, because your bank is giving very good,
5%.
yeah, you're making good money on interest this year. You can see that in the general fund under interest and earnings. So you can see in July, that was about $5,500. Not a lot of money. And I don't mean that derogatorily, but for the amount of money we have in the bank, that's a lot of money to get in interest. So their Pioneer's doing very good.
What's Pioneer doing?
I could check on what it's coming, but I don't think they disclose that on my bank statement though. But that's sweet, that's sweet money.
50 grand a year.
Right, you're almost $20,000 over what you budgeted already, so. And that's money you can think about if you need.
Free money.
Right, and it's also, that's one of the areas that if you're doing these budget adjustments, you can keep that in mind, that, oh, look, we're getting $5,000 a month in interest. We didn't budget that.
Right.
So we're gonna increase that line item and increase an expenditure. Doesn't have to be like you brought up, it doesn't have to be refuge charges goes to refuge contractual,
right,
right? And you
gotcha.
don't have to do that,
Mhm.
but you can say interest, yay, I'm gonna get $15,000 more in interest, but we wanna do this project, so we're gonna increase the interest budget line item, and we're gonna increase whatever line item it is that you wanna do that with.
excuse me.
All right. The highway fund, the petty cash, that was reduced to $300.
So somebody's gonna have to do a reconciliation, because I don't see that coming back. Do you have 500 or do you have 300 out there?
300.
All right, I'm gonna have to go back in your records. I believe there was petty cash on the books when I took office, and I wouldn't know who had that back then.
That was in 2023 that it was reduced to the 200,
Right,
or
so,
300, I'm sorry.
right, so
So that would have been.
unless somebody gave back the difference, even, so if you authorize $500 in 2020, and then you only authorize 300 in 2021, somebody's gotta give me back that other $200. Because at this time, you don't do what I recommended earlier, which is have everybody with petty cash come in, reconcile it, So what they should do is reconcile it, give it back, we run it through the records so that everybody can see it's come back, and then reauthorize it.
I can tell you that the cash that Noel gave me, and $200 from Jared, went to the supervisor.
Okay, and if you know when that was, that would be,
You have
if you don't, yeah,
Right.
that would be great.
I don't know if I got a receipt or not.
Okay, and I can pull,
I know that they both went to it, because
yeah.
I kept asking where it was supposed to go.
And again, that might just be on me. And I just would need to move it from where it was.
And you're all set with your petty cash now, Jared?
Yes.
Yeah, all I have in the highway petty cash is the initial $500 back in December, so we should look into that.
Where is?
It might not have come through in a manner that I understood what that was. Might not have said return petty cash.
So would it then like?
So if that's the case.
Unclassified or something?
I try not to do miscellaneous revenue, because if you do miscellaneous revenue, the comptroller always asks what it is. It's like, what is that, right? So what would happen though is, instead of me hitting your, just want to get your terms right, instead of me hitting the 201, the money market account, so if I got I'm going to say I got the $200 and I just divided it incorrectly, right? So I would have debited the 201 account for the cash coming in, right, and credited the 210 account. So the cash, if the cash came in, the cash has been accounted for. I just didn't account for it in the 210 petty cash account. What I would have to do is then redo that entry. We just have to find it and see, and then I can figure out where I put it. But as far as overall, it's all there. It's just it might be in 210 instead of 201.
Wendy, is the recommendation to do it monthly, reconcile petty cash monthly amongst
No.
the department heads?
No.
So it's just annually and then when we reissue?
I like to do it when you audit your books, because then that gets everybody here, right? Everybody's gonna be here anyhow. I mean, so you have petty cash,
The court has petty cash and you direct.
Right, so,
Right, yeah, they do too.
yeah, so all of those, the youth director probably returns it at the end of their summer, or do they keep it?
She uses it, she runs programs all year.
Okay, then that's fine. But when you do your audit of the books, maybe the right before that, it doesn't need to do the whole board process, but someone should be responsible for having them all come in, cash it all out, we'll deposit it, and then reauthorize it, and we'll give it back to you.
Makes sense.
Okay. You said we should do
The end, by the end of the year, but when we have to examine the books by January 20th, and that works out well to reissue and, reconcile.
Do we actually have, like, any, like, capital project funds or any money that are in certain funds?
So if you look on both of your balance sheets, both your DA and your A, so in the A fund, you have special reserve for 7,500. In your DA, you have two special reserves, one for 110,000 and the other one for 7,000. So yes.
What are they? What are they for?
There you go. That's the 110,000, according to the books, according to what I can see here, is new equipment. The 21 of 7,000 is machinery repairs, and I think the 22 was building repairs.
Machinery,
7,000 was the machine repair.
and then the 31, is that what you just said? I'm sorry.
Nope, so the 110,000 in the highway fund,
Mm-hmm.
that's identified as new equipment. The $7,000 in the highway fund is identified as machinery repairs. And the $7,500 in the A fund is 22, building improvements.
And
Yep, take your notes, take your time.
and then, what's the 31,247?
Do we do?
That is a bid deposit that is on your books since before I came here. I can look up what that is.
It's as a result of a development that happened,
Okay.
and Tom actually can speak to this.
Oh, I was gonna say, because it was on the books.
And when we did Sylvan Way,
Sylvan Way.
Okay.
I made the contractor pay for the re-graveling of the entire south Long Pond Road, which Jared well aware of.
Okay.
We had I think it was $30,000 that they put up, and it's strictly for that gravel.
Have you spent any of it?
No.
Okay.
No.
So that's one of those situations where if you do work against that bid guarantee, then I would need to know that, because that's a separate entry that
Yeah,
I
I'll
would have
gladly
to do.
keep track of
Okay.
all that.
All right.
We also have $1,500 for the Fire Tower Road. We did a subdivision over there to improve the road, widen it, and we got the road, that one particular section deeded to us. So that's just for improvements for Fire Tower Road.
That was already done when that 1,500's gone.
No, I don't think we used that here, did we?
No, not yet.
Where is it?
So where is
On the
it?
Where is?
Should have been on the highway.
Guarantee bid deposits are not allowed in any fund other than the general fund, and that was a new regulation. They used to be held in your trust account. The trust account no longer can hold those funds, which is why you see it on the general fund.
Okay.
It's an amount that's been there
Correct.
since I got here. I mean,
It's a long time.
somebody more astute than me would have to look for additional.
Tom, isn't that the two things together, Fire Tower and Sylvan Way?
Correct.
Was it Fire Tower was like 30,000, or 30, Sylvan Way was like 30?
30,000 for Sylvan Way and for South Long Pond Road, and then 1,500 for the Fire Tower.
Right.
Okay.
So it's 31,247, so the question
Right.
is, where did $253 go, right?
Yeah.
Somebody'd have to.
If it was really 1,500, that was.
Right, yeah, that's the other thing, was it exactly 1,500? And I don't have records that would give me that information.
Hmm. Good explanation, thank you.
So, like that new equipment line, that has been there forever and we never used.
Yep, so you would have to go back in your minutes and find how those were created. There's two ways to create a reserve. One is a specific resolution. So the board authorizes the purchase of a 2026 dump truck, right? But the 2026 dump truck isn't out yet. So you put money in your reserve so that when you can buy the dump truck at the end of 2025, you have the funds there. That's a specific reserve. You can also have a general reserve, which is, we're gonna buy equipment. So depending on how you put the money in the reserve, depends on how you can get it out and use it. And I can send you the comptroller's handbook on how to deal with your reserves, so that you have that information.
I believe that those came about as part of the budget process. We wanted to move money into reserves for,
We put like
Yep.
$10,000.
So,
We do 25,000.
Yeah,
They
okay,
never
but-
get to transfer.
Right, because I can't just transfer it because you budgeted it. If you want it actually moved, then you have to tell me to do so. I'm gonna create all the accounts I need to in order to keep you in compliance, but I'm not gonna just arbitrarily move money because you budgeted. The only money that I quote unquote move is the sales tax money that goes to your highway account, and that comes in. So when the first check for the highway, for the first check the sales tax comes in, because you've budgeted in 2 different places, that first, I think it's 35, right? 35 goes to the highway account, and the rest of it goes into the general fund. But because you're budgeting a transfer in the highway account to the capital account, it will not go unless you authorize me to do that. It all depends on what you're trying to do. You have to have a plan for the money, right? You just don't want to start squirreling away money because, you know, when the auditors come in, that's the first, they're gonna ask you, what's the plan for this money, right? And if you don't have one, then they're gonna say it needs to go back into the fund from which it came.
Specific.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of a general capital
Rainy day
reserve.
fund.
Yeah, things like that.
Because we put that 25,000 on both the highway and the general fund every year. And it never, I don't know what happens, it doesn't get transferred to those funds.
Right, but it remains in your your unexpended fund balance.
Which is kind of not really kosher, because we're putting it on a budget, right? To transfer to capital reserve.
Well, you're planning on transferring it. If you decide not to, there's no harm, no foul. It's not like you lose that money.
No, but
It's just it's in a different, it's only in a different bucket. And again, if you want to transfer it, you should have a plan for it.
Is the interest that we earn, does that have to be allocated like to that 110,000 and 7,000? Does that, because that money is in that account?
So you don't have, you have 2 checking accounts, a trust account that runs all of your payroll, an accounts payable checking account that runs all of your accounts payable and bills and things like that. And then you have just one savings account that has all of the A and the DA money. So it's not applicable directly to the 110,000.
Does it have to be though?
No.
So that money, we don't have, like, we have a responsibility to apply the interest that's earned on that?
Not to those because they're not specific.
Like escrow accounts and everything that's kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
We have ARPA money too, I believe. That's that 40.
Yep, that's the 41,000 that you see on the general fund, which will need to be spent by the end of this year, if I recall correctly on my dates, right?
So
I think it's the end of this year. And those funds can also be used in the highway, if you'd like. They're not specific to the general. They stay on the general fund balance sheet until you decide where you want to spend them. But if you decide to spend them in the highway account, that's fine too.
Any other regulatory stuff on spending that ARPA money?
I don't recall under that. I've seen folks have been doing parks. You know, they've been upgrading parks. The village did some work on their water lines and their park.
So basically capital.
It's pretty much, it's pretty discretionary if I recall correctly.
Does the reporting on that end this year with the final expenditure?
Yeah, it's probably going to be due in April because we only have to report annually because of how little money we got. But that's something you should really seriously be considering what you're going to do with because it is the middle of August. You don't want to lose it.
Why did our ARPA funds go up though? I know I have that on that AED report. It was 40,000 something in 2022 on the ARPA, or on the AED.
We got a refund back. Did it change by a little bit? There was a bill that got paid twice, and I believe, if I recall correctly, it crossed fiscal years. Yeah. Yeah, it went from 44,107,14 and 22 to 41,808,78. I'm pretty sure that is one of the bills that got paid twice. And so even though the authorization was to use the ARPA funds, obviously if the bill got paid twice, the money had to go back into the ARPA account.
So, and just to the certification statement on the AUD,
Yeah.
can you just explain it?
Oops, I made a mistake. I mean, I don't have any other answer other than that. I apologize. It should have said Ingrid when I filed it.
So it wasn't the, whatever, the controller's office?
No, I called, when it came to my attention through social media that was stated that way, that Wendy J. Ashley is the CFO, I called the controller's office. They attempted to walk me through the process of changing it, so it was simply a clerical issue on their part, how they logged in the report, and it was unchangeable at this point. So it says Wendy J. Ashley, Chief Fiscal Officer,
Oh.
but
You know what? You're right. I apologize. So they, okay, they went to a new system. They have this whole new system of how we do your annual financial plan. And you're right, I don't have to fill out that certification anymore. It was my login that got it. Did you get that resolved?
no, they couldn't at this point. They said it was too.
Right, they can, but going
But
forward?
going forward, it will be.
Okay.
And she acknowledged, and again, I have a document speaking with her, and we've
Yeah.
got emails back and forth about
Yeah,
the problem.
that
And
would
she
make- that makes
acknowledged that this transition last year was a mess.
Yeah.
That they said that software.
It's a roles and responsibility as
Mhm.
authorized from their office to Ingrid and then to me. So as part of that, they must have clicked a button that said, I'm the same as her for some reason. And what I was thinking about is in the past, I would have to fill out a certification, like I'd have to put in Wendy J. Ashley, I'd have to put in the fiscal year, I'd have to put all that in.
Yes.
But I don't have
It
to do
wasn't
that.
just Kathy Boyer, because it was when I first got when I got the AUD, I was like, why would Lynn decertify that as our chief financial officer?
And you didn't ask back then? Just curious, no big deal, but no, it's okay. I know you didn't put it on social media, and that's not a problem at all.
Because I don't use Facebook ever.
Okay.
I don't like Facebook,
Because it causes a lot of problems.
Okay. So, I feel like I'm being a pain in the ass. but-
No, no, not, nor are you. You're asking the questions.
Okay, so has anybody got any more questions for the highway? Are we done with that?
No.
Okay, so the AUD on there, the balance sheet that we got at the end of the year, shouldn't that be the same as the balance as when we start the AUD?
May I have an example of what you're speaking of?
Because the balance sheet for 12/31/23 that we got the balance was listed as 1,056,764. Or no. Okay, it was listed as 1,074,114 dollars. Okay, our balance sheet.
In the general fund?
Yes,
Okay.
but then when you start, this was listed as 1,042,000,
I can look into that for you.
just to see what the difference.
There may have been, I'm not gonna speak without looking at that.
Okay. That's okay.
Yeah, there may have been a payment to the comptroller's office.
What about retirement? Paid it early?
Yeah, that's what I see.
Is it, right?
Yeah.
Because, the New York State retirement is a prepaid expense.
Yep. Because it's technically not due until January, but if you prepay it in December, you show it as, you get a discount on your payment and you can show it as a prepayment. So because you've always paid it in January and not taken advantage of that reduction by paying it in December, I didn't want to hit your expense account twice in the same year, once in January and then once again in December. So that's why I'm showing it as a prepaid expense.
So, so now it should be. So that'll be shown that way every year then?
Yes,
Okay.
yep.
And then what was the $20.05 that was left in the state retirement? My numbers get cut off on the side.
In the trust and agents, no, it would be in the general fund. I'd have to see if it,
It's for state retirement.
yep, right, so this is, they also have a new system.
Okay.
It could very well be an employee's deduction that I was asked to take by them, but then when I submitted it to them, they would not accept it from me, and I had to return it to the employee. That has happened many times since they've gone to the new system. It happens when somebody works for more than one place, because we all get the same notice about the employee.
Oh, okay. So when both employees,
Both yep.
that employer paid it first, so
Yep,
you're
they took it,
allowed to-
I took it, they reported first, they won't take it from me, and it's a little back and forth pretty much every month with them on things like that.
Wasn't that actually, to speak specifically? I think it had to do with,
No,
no?
we're not going to.
No, okay, no, gotcha, okay.
We don't do that.
We don't do that, okay, good. I gotcha. Okay.
Okay, on the record, we don't do that.
I don't like to speak about someone specific.
That's understood, yeah,
Right?
no, perfect, yes.
You can understand that.
Yeah.
Okay, and then on the general, the results of operation. For the real property taxes.
Sorry, I just,
That's okay.
okay, so sorry. What page are you on, may I ask?
I don't have a page number.
Bottom left-hand corner.
Yeah,
It's cut off.
yeah, it's A, general results of operation.
Okay, yep,
Revenues, resources,
okay.
property taxes.
Yep,
Okay. Well. This,
the 21.
my first first question was, why was it so different?
Okay, so in 2021, is it a fire, it's not a fire protection district, it's just a fire district, right? Okay, so when I came into office, your fire district was reported in its own fund, which makes sense to me because you can have a fire district within a town.
Right.
My assumption was that that was correct. When I submitted the AUD, they said, no, it's not a fire district, it's a pass-through. We collect the taxes on behalf of the fire district and we submit them to them. It's not revenue to us nor an expense to us. And I'd have to get into the specifics. I'm not real well versed in a fire district, fire protection district, things of that nature. But they are a fire district, not a fire protection district. The difference being is you contract with them to provide the service versus them raising their own taxes to pay for their services.
Okay.
If they're a fire protection district, it would be
You
different.
contract,
We
yes.
voucher
You
them.
would
Yeah.
contract with them
Right.
to provide the services, and it would be a contractual expense.
Right.
Like in Nassau, I have 2 fire districts, and I have ambulances, and I have the library, right? And some I collect and pass through, some I collect as a contract with the town.
Okay. So that's what that.
So yeah, so the first year I reported it as I believed it to be true, and they have more information down there, downtown than I did, and she sent me an email and said, no, this is just a pass-through. It also does not count against your tax cap when you file your tax cap report.
So probably those two amounts, the fire district and, because what was on the budget, according to the budget, was 131,000. And so that, and the fire district amount together probably would be that
Yes.
22,200.
Yeah,
Perfect.
just in round numbers, that makes sense to me based on what I know.
All right, the pilot payments that we get in 2023, but we didn't get it in 2022, and in 2021, we got 700.
Somebody will have to speak to that I'm not versed in.
Say it again, start with the oldest year chronologically, 2021.
12/21, we got $700.
Okay.
12/22, we got 0. And 12/23, we got 500. For Dyke and Pond. Well, is that Dyke and Pond, right? I think they're the only ones we
That's the
have.
friends.
That's
that
like-
The
Yeah.
friends.
They pay in lieu of taxes.
Right.
Right.
It's a pilot.
Donation.
Payment. It's a pilot payment. It's in lieu of tax.
Yeah,
Payment in lieu of taxes.
Right. But why do we get, why?
Why did we miss a year and why did we get less?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Correct.
It's discretionary to the submitter, right? We don't say to them, we're expecting your pilot.
Right.
It's discretionary.
No, there should be a written agreement
Oh.
yeah.
with
Should be
all
a
of
pilot
the,
agreement.
each of the years spelled out who gets what. So if, just off the top of my head, so it should address your school district, your town, and your fire district, because if whatever property this is falls in their district also.
I think
Usually-
that's what happened.
Yeah, usually it passes through the town
There
clerk.
was some charges on the fire district, excuse me, but
No, that,
that's what happened, so that's what they didn't pay. Then they got straightened out, and now they're gonna pay the $700. That's what I understand.
And these pilot payments are usually set up for a time period, correct?
a lengthy time period,
Yeah.
usually 20 years.
I know, like at RCI, we have a lot of them pilot
Yeah.
payments and they're
Yeah,
set
that
up
would make
for
sense, right?
years.
But somebody should have the agreement somewhere,
Yeah,
right?
so I think
Somebody should know what they should be paying and to whom and how much.
It's
and
just
how
sounds
long.
like a bond, right? You don't get any, RPA talked about it, and I don't believe RPA ever.
We probably
No,
never
and I
pushed them
never-
to do it, did we?
Well, that's what it was.
Well, do we, can we push them to do
We
it?
tried, I
Is
thought,
that-
we asked.
Yeah, they don't become tax exempt from property taxes just because they want to be,
Nonprofit.
right? I mean, are they on the rolls? Are they on the tax rolls? Are they getting a tax bill?
No,
And this is just things I'm, you know,
for some of their
I've
profits.
done pilots many, many years ago. I haven't had to do them any time
Yeah.
recently, but
The assessor's office would be a good resource to see
yeah,
where we stand with
the
that.
assessor should have the exemption on file for the property.
Perfect.
There's certain criteria that's.
Right, yeah.
All of
Just
that.
And they
can't-
just went through some questions and all of that.
And I don't know if it being nonprofit, that changes it, or outside my scope of knowledge, apologize, I'm like, got nothing. Yeah. But if it's a true pilot, there should be a written agreement.
I agree.
Time period.
Yep.
The gifts and donations under, I'm still in the general,
Yep.
general results of operations.
Yep.
What is that? Was that from,
It could be for your banners, if I recall, that somebody made a donation to get a banner.
so that's,
Military
that's
badge?
that's the
Yeah.
veterans does the banners. We don't collect the money for that.
Gifts and donations.
Like,
Let me see.
like when we, the three, Because I'm just thinking, like recreation, cleaning, that kind of thing, right?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Recreation.
Somebody got it?
Sean Gettleman gave us $200 that made everyone tennis club.
They've gotten other donations.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, sure they have, yeah,
Right.
but I'm just thinking that was a recent one.
Right, but I think, because the recreation committee, I thought they got more than just $250 last year.
Yeah, Ryan Sweeney.
They did two or three. I don't
So where
remember
is that
total.
accounted for? Where does that? If we have gifts and donations of $250, where, and we got more donations than that, where did that money get accounted for?
Yeah, that receipt would have to be pulled. I did not make a notation of who it was from. It was in August of last year,
August of '23?
Yeah.
What was the amount, Wendy?
$250.
Okay. That was the Ryan Sweeney donation, because Gettleman's was 200. And he actually gave it to us in May. We didn't get it. Until now.
But where,
I didn't see it till later when she,
what do we do, what is the process for the recreation committee when they get donations? What do they do with the donations that they get?
It's turned in.
it gets turned into
I don't know, I'm
Vicky, right?
asking.
Or the clerk.
Yeah, that's-
My understanding is it should be deposited and then allocated for the recreation.
And
Jennifer,
to
to whoever it was
Yeah.
gifted for, or gifted to.
Yeah, if it's identifiable as a gifted donation, I would post it there. If it's not identifiable to me on the receipt, it's not gonna, it might have gone into miscellaneous. Oh, no, I wrote, see, bottle returns from the transfer station. If you have an idea, I can go back and look in the receipts.
I was just wondering where that money gets allocated.
Right, I mean, if you can narrow down my focus of when and how much, I can look on the, I mean, we have all last year's reports, so I can look and see. Let me see. There's no more these programs. Let me see if it's there. Don't mind holding for a minute. Let me see if we have it. Yeah, I thought maybe in that, on the next page, account number 3820 identified as state aid youth programs. But those are specific dollar amounts, like I have $117.55, right? So that's not a donation.
Right.
And all I marked on those, I have two of those, and both of those just say clerk's fees from Vicky's report, so it's not something that I would think would be a donation coming through her. And the other amount is, must, $2,900 that we get from the county.
What's the AIM-related payments?
Comes from the state of New York.
Yeah, it comes through the state of New York, it's the same amount every year.
It's $8,245,
Yeah.
but we didn't get it in December of 2022? Or for 22, we didn't get that payment?
That may have been a, are you back a page?
I'm still on the one where
Oh.
the donation was, right under the donation. It's here, not there, here.
Go to the next page, under 3001.
Okay, I did break that.
Yeah, they,
Per capita.
yeah, it's, this year we want you to book it here, next year we want you to book it here, next year we want you to book it here, so it's back and forth, so. I think they've now settled on 2750 as 8 payments and not 3001 revenue sharing as it used to be.
As far as it goes,
Yeah. I know you got it, it's just,
we get that every year.
yep.
Paid incentives for municipalities.
Yep. 8 and it's, yes.
Once in a while,
Yeah.
I have a smart reason that can changed.
Yeah.
And then the overall total revenues, it's off by $25,000. Would that be because of that transfer that's not paid?
Nope, that must have been the year I forgot to give the highway department their $25,000 in the sales tax at the beginning of the year. Is it the same year that you're noticing cash difference?
It's for 23.
And is that the same year that you're noticing the cash difference on your, that's probably it. I probably went, so when I go through to start closing out the books, when I got to the highway department and the revenue, I must have realized that I never transferred the $25,000 to the highway department for the sales tax, and I must have made that entry after you got your December, which is then why you get a copy of the AUD, right? I remember there was one year that I had neglected to do that and realized it before I closed the books, and I made that adjustment.
And that would be a non-property tax distribution by the county.
Yes.
Because that's off 25,000, and that's what.
Yes, that's what it would have been.
Okay, thank you.
So in terms of closing the books for a year, so what is the official policy on closing a year's books? Like in the county, there's a time factor from when the year ends, then you have so much time to work on some of the issues with the previous year's budget. So when is the official time for town to close their books?
So I have to have your report to the comptroller's office by the end of February. They have a 60 days to file.
60 days after the end of the year?
Yeah.
Okay. And within that time?
I could see anomalies or something that doesn't look right or something wasn't coded correctly, and I would go through that.
So I guess the question from me would be, how much do we look at those numbers at the end of the year as a board member?
Well, if you had seen that I had not at the end of the year
Yeah.
transferred the sales tax, I would appreciate,
Okay.
letting Ingrid know and say, she didn't do this. Now I do it as soon as I get that first check. As soon as I get the first sales check, the first 35, I think it is this year, 35 goes to the highway department, and then the rest of it just continues on.
And again, that's the end of February?
Mhm.
Wasn't sure about that. It's similar to the county.
Yeah, you're on the calendar year also, yeah. And we're not big enough to, and so last year I requested an extension because of the new software, although I didn't take it. We filed on time because but that new software is just a bear to work in.
So
It's
once
not user-friendly at
you
all.
end that year,
Mhm.
you can't go back after
No.
February. So that ends it.
Right, so once I've closed the books, there's no entries able to be made. And I close the books as soon as I officially file this.
Okay.
And I feel comfortable that what is represented here is represented here and is representative of what happened in the town fiscally that year.
Okay, that sounds good to me.
Which is also after when you audit the books, right? Don't you audit in February? I think you have to do it in January.
We have to do it by
If-
January 20th.
Literally, if anybody's ready in January, let me know. I mean, that's a hard push to get everything done and ready to go. But at that point, I would say I'm 95%, even 99% done. It would just be that. I'm one of those people that likes to do it, set it aside, come back, do it again, make sure everything ticks out. So I like to take my time with it because I don't want it to be wrong.
I mean, you know pretty much where we are financially in November, December.
Oh yeah, Yeah,
you see where some of the holes are.
yeah. Not that I see.
Okay, I'm good. Look at the numbers here.
Continue 9, the municipal association dues. We didn't pay it in 22. What is that?
That's the association of towns that you are required by statute to be a participant in.
So we didn't,
So here's sometimes what happens is that you'll get a bill in November or December for the following fiscal year, right? And you'll as the board will want to pay it, and I'll get it.
you said
But-
no.
I either say no because you don't want to pay a 2025 bill in 2024.
Yeah.
But sometimes you do. You pass it through to me. Sometimes if I'm doing them before it goes to the board, I'll stop it and I'll just put a note on it and say this should be paid in January, right? But sometimes you put them in that end of year abstract.
So
I try to keep you honest.
So we didn't pay it for 2022.
We ended up paying it in the January of 2023.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
But January 2023 don't show anything either.
Maybe February.
Where are we? Oh, we're down here.
You get delinquent notices from them straight away. if we do.
Could it have been coded incorrectly?
I don't know.
It could have been coded incorrectly when it came to me for payment.
Who would have, there's gotta be a way to see who, if we paid it and who
Oh,
we
absolutely.
paid it to.
Just hold.
When they move back. I don't know.
Accounts payable. I show in 2022, we paid them, in December, we paid them $800.
In 22.
Yep. In 23, we paid them $800 in November, so I bet 22 was for 23, 23 was for 24. I'm gonna say they might have been coded incorrectly if they're not showing.
Okay.
Let me see if I have that ability to get behind the payment. The one in 23 got coded to 5010. Highway and Street Administration. See? Yeah, see, I'm right, I'm making the notes. And then the one in 22 got coded to 1620. So there's the question, do you want me to change it when I say it?
Excuse me.
Right?
Well, yeah, but no, you know what I mean? You're not, we've approved it.
But I did that for your, but I did that, so I did it for your computers though,
Right,
right? I did it for your computers,
Yeah.
but then you're leaving it incumbent upon me to pick up something like that.
We should be picking up.
That makes me kind of go, I mean, pieces of equipment I'm probably gonna grab and say, no, because at some point we should get a listing of all our assets together, and it's easier if you code those correctly.
Then, it's A, general results of operations, total for recreation. Under celebrations, why is that being coded under personnel services? Not contractual, it's the recreation committee. Okay. It's under a .1.
Yep, I can
Why
see it.
it's
Yep.
being done, but it should, I don't think it should be personnel services.
That's incorrect on the AUD.
Okay. Is it? It's on there, it's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, worker, let's see, A, general results of operations, workers' comp, or disability insurance. We didn't pay any disability in 2023. Would it, I'm not sure what that is though.
She's a lifesaver.
Is that your bride?
They're orange.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Orange man.
Different. That's kind of like baby aspirin slash medicine. Looks good though.
We used to get those at food bank.
Disability insurance, what's your question? We didn't pay it for a year?
I'm looking to see. I have one. Yeah, I don't see that in 23. In 24, I see a payment to a company called Shelter Point.
That's our carrier.
I don't see anything prior to that though, in 23. So perhaps no. I can see if we've paid Shelter Point. Accounts payable.
Shelter Point is our disability insurance.
Yes. And we've paid that since I've been supervisor. That's been our carrier, I should say.
I show the payment in 2024.
The payment for 23 was paid in 24.
Somebody'd have to pull that voucher.
Okay.
No, I apologize, my notation does say 2024 on 2024. So I don't know if they had billed us. For 23? It's not based on claims, right? It's just a policy that we have. It's not like unemployment that we would pay if somebody claimed against us.
No.
Okay, not sure what type of policy you have.
Any questions for the associations of towns? The dues for 2023 went under buildings and codes. The dues for 2024 did go under the municipality, and the two that are under the highway is, one was for a highway superintendent class, I do believe, yeah, both of them, and that goes to the town, and that was 110 and 125. And they go to the associations of towns, that's why it went to, it's Jared's training, so that's why it went to the highway.
Okay.
And that one association's dues did get coded wrong.
Thank you.
That's right.
And you want me to check shelter point billing?
I don't know, somebody, you gotta check, somebody gotta check it. We didn't.
What are we looking for?
Do you have a folder with the vouchers for that, a specific shelter point
It's easy
folder?
to pull it up right on.
Right.
What year are you looking for?
2023, he didn't pay, we don't have records of it when he paid.
Jared, were you working on your day off?
Yesterday, finish up ditching over on Fox Hollow, moving the roller over for Monday, moving the excavator back for Monday,
Besides, like, I think you were working after 4 o'clock too.
always.
Thank you.
Now I'm trying to figure out Monday, because I'm sitting here texting, because one of the guy's mother died last night unexpectedly.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I'm kind of out of it. I'm trying to figure out Monday's plan, because,
Is there any more questions?
Vicky just ran to grab the shelter point.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
can we
yeah,
continue?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
had
there you
a
go.
question in terms of we're on the verge of budget for 25.
Mhm.
On the verge of the column, this would be for everyone. Basically, is there anything that you would recommend to us that you know in our budget process that you see flaw, anything we should be really thinking about? I mean, it's a system that seems to be working from the way I see it, but it's kind of a scramble at the end in terms of going through each line when it's opened up to the public. So,
Yeah, I mean, statutorily, there's deadlines that need to be met. I mean, if you want to back it up, I mean, the process should be you get the information from your department heads. It's put into the budget as presented by the department heads.
and
then you, as a board, make the
Yeah,
decision.
that's it, and that's time consuming
Yeah.
with where we're at.
Or you
So-
trust your department heads
Yeah.
to make recommendations.
I mean, we have information from the past. And,
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that's concerning is it's tough to predict what the future is going to bring. We have a whole new election process. There's going to be a new president. The economy could go any direction at any time, which will affect us, although we do have a fund balance. But it's an interesting process, and I think we've got it down to a point. I think it works for me, except I'd like to spend personally more time on, revenue side and just, get a better handle on it when it finally gets approved. I always feel like there's something missing. That's just the way it is. But, I don't know, our process seems okay.
I don't know, I've always taken the approach that when the department heads turn in their sheets, I just load those figures, trusting the department heads to know what they're doing.
Got
I
it.
load those figures in, so I've taken heat about my 20% tax increases and stuff like that, but that gives us all the same level playing field of knowing what department heads have asked for, and then we make our budgetary decisions after that.
You may want to consider, and I haven't seen it in any of your processes, using some of your fund balance. Now that you know what you have, right? You know what you have. And so as part of your processes, maybe you authorize the use of $25,000 or something to that effect.
That's what is a valid fund balance for our
There's no
town?
guidance.
I
You know,
know.
like school districts, they can't have more than 3%, right? But there's no guidance. In your highway fund, I would highly recommend more than a general fund. Because any type of storm, will kill you. I mean, you buy salt, you buy sand, you buy guys, you buy, right, piece of equipment, break, you can't repair it,
And that's
right?
unknown.
Right, so that's the crystal ball you're talking about, you know?
Right.
But if you have a healthy fund balance that you can draw on when something like that happens, right?
Are there specific rules on the fund balance and how it can be used? And the timing on the fund balance?
No, it can be used to increase your appropriations, expenditures,
At any time?
and throughout the year.
So it's
You can
really-
either do it as part of the budget
it's-
process.
It's a
or you-
vote.
Yeah, yep. As I said earlier, if you're doing budget adjustments and you don't have room within your current appropriations, then you would go to your fund balance to say, like the truck that Jared just bought. If you don't have enough within these line items and you didn't budget for it, then you would go to your fund balance and say, I'm gonna utilize the fund balance to the tune of $25,000, and we're gonna, increase the appropriations.
Now, the fire district, that's a separate entity.
Totally separate entity, I learned years ago.
And they have a right to raise
Yes.
taxes? They have a cap on what they can go
Yes.
per year?
Yeah.
I mean,
They are
that-
their own entity, and they have to abide by the same rules that you do. They are not under your umbrella.
So in essence, they increased. That really throws our.
No, has nothing to do with you.
Right,
Nope,
the
they're
tax
totally,
applies, well, the tax
Nope.
applies to the town.
nope, they're a separate entity. You graciously allow them to put their tax levy on your tax bill. Right?
So the taxpayers pay the increase.
Yep.
I think our fire department's is very,
Oh, they're way over what they could.
right, oh,
Double.
definitely. If you think about what other
There's
towns.
nothing they can do about it.
No, but I think they're way under, I mean,
Yeah, no,
they're
they are.
very,
They're very fair.
well, I just feel bad. They're,
And that's on them. I mean,
Right,
Right.
that's how they roll and think.
in Nassau, the library did a referendum, I think you have to do, to come out from underneath the town. They were under the town for many, many years, and then one year they decided to do the referendum to become their own taxing authority. So they came off of our tax liability and became like a fire district.
What town was that?
Nassau.
Nassau, okay, right, right.
Nassau did their own.
Became known library.
Because they
district.
exceeded their tax cap
Yeah.
this past year, so that came into question, whether they were part of the town levy or not. So many years ago, they did a referendum to become their own taxing authority. The fire district is already one.
And that's why we don't voucher for, we're just a pass through. We get our tax
Yes.
for the, by the.
Yeah, you have,
fire company.
you,
Right.
like your transfer into your capital, that I can't do unless you tell me,
Mhm.
paying their taxes I have to do.
Right.
Whether you tell me to or not,
Right.
because we are just the collecting authority on their behalf. Does that make sense?
He's all right.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the state doesn't put a percentage on our general fund or our reserves. We should keep.
Yeah, I mean, let's not get crazy. But now that you know where you stand financially, there should be some serious conversations at this table about what you want to do with those funds moving forward. Do you want to do something with them? Do you want to use them to offset taxes? Right? What do you want to do as a board?
I think personally, we have a huge fund balance that I think we've kind of been unfair to taxpayers as far as taxing them.
Okay.
We've fallen under
Yeah,
the cap for the last.
I know.
I know, we're under the cap, I understand that, but to
1%.
carry the fund balances that we've been carrying for the last few years, I think is, either we should.
I'm going to say it because you all know it. I'm not going to tell you anything you don't already know. You didn't know for many years.
Exactly.
You didn't know for many years where you were financially. Your balance sheets were out of balance. Right? Now you know.
Yeah.
So let's as a group decide what you want to do
Right.
moving forward. And as part of your budget process, I would include that. You're not going to get, I don't know, does the roof here need to be replaced? Do
Right.
you need to replace the flooring, right?
Yeah.
Like I've seen
You can do-
like air conditioning, and I've seen boilers, and like what maybe maintenance things do you need to really consider, right?
Generators.
Right, so.
Yeah, there's
we
a
have
few
a
things
lot.
we got, we should
Right,
do.
so as a group, let's decide on what we want to do with the fund balance, and as you said, we can reduce the tax levy by use of some of that fund balance.
Or not increase it because we have to.
Right, yeah.
We should have a plan.
Right,
That would be a-
but you don't want one-shot revenue, which would be use of your fund balance, to offset ongoing expenses. Right, if it's a one-shot revenue from your fund balance, it should be a one-shot expenditure in your budget. Does that make sense?
We could have a master plan.
Yeah, have an idea of what we're doing today. Not just today,
Well,
but
not
for the
today,
future,
down
not
the
just for
road.
today, but for the, in the future.
Yeah, and the comptroller's office has, a long-term planning, they've all kinds of documents out there to assist you, with where you're headed, which is a good place to be headed.
All right, just one more question. Does the fire district get billed for fuel?
Yes.
Yes. And we also, so we're,
Yeah, there's a funny account you have. Hang on, I have a scratch note because there's a funny account that we put that check into, because it's like, what is
because
that?
there's fuel sold to the ambulance district, but I don't have, I'm not sure where the fire district goes. So we bill the rescue squad?
Fire district.
Do you do both of them?
No.
Somebody gives me money for the fuel.
Yeah,
Is it just the ambulance?
just the fire district.
Just the fire district? Do other people use it?
The fuel?
Yep.
Just three of us, highway, ambulance, and fire. That's it.
So if ambulance and fire are not being charged, they should be.
Fire is, I
Yeah,
believe.
fire
right?
is.
Fire.
Can't help you with that, let's see. There's a weird account number.
My things get cut off. It's on,
Yep.
highway, DA,
Yep.
highway townwide results of operations on,
Yep, 2,300.
yeah.
Yep. I wrote ambulance. Could it be also fire? I don't know. Somebody would have to look into that.
Does that get broken out with 3 people using the fuel?
When they use the fuel pumps, are you able to tell who's using what?
Every single vehicle and every
Oh,
single person.
that's what I figured. I would have been
Okay,
Do we
yeah.
do an
shocked.
audit? Do we do it, is it?
Is
do
it a
we do like
monthly charge?
audit?
Yeah, it's easy to do. It takes
I
a
know,
minute.
but do we do it though? Do we
Yeah.
have them?
I get it. Ingrid asked me for it, and I just give it to her. It's easy. Yeah, every gallon's accounted for.
There's a code system where you plug in your, like,
Yeah,
code
each
for the gas.
Truck has it.
Yeah, each truck has a key and each
So you know.
individual has a code.
Yeah.
So if yours is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then you type in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with whatever vehicle.
Yeah.
you put in.
That's what I thought, something like that.
Yeah.
Vic, when you prepare fuel stuff for when you do the breakout, the ambulance is 30% of revenue, is that part of that? Fuel? When we buy the fuel, no, you don't attribute it that way. So they're not getting billed, rescue squad's not getting billed, they're good.
I would recommend to do that quarterly.
Yeah, I do it quarterly without a,
Because they
Fire
probably use a
district?
lot.
I would do both of them quarterly.
okay.
Where are you, August? Do it as of September and then do it again in December. And then moving forward, do it quarterly.
Ambulance through August and then start fresh for September.
Yeah, I don't see anything recent, Ingrid, so
Okay.
yeah. Go back to the last time anybody got billed.
Okay, did I hear you say that was the last question you had, Becky? On the AED, okay. Did you grab shelter points?
Shelter Point, the last voucher that I have for Shelter Point covered up through September of 2023. Where Shelter Point has gone from there, I have no idea.
Don't you have Benetech that works for you on behalf of your benefits?
They do, but we have shelter point also as like an ancillary.
Yeah, but it might behoove of us to ask them if they can't help us with that.
Okay, okay.
They might be able to broker it out for you also and get a better pricing,
Great, okay.
which surprises because we do have claims. Okay, let's keep going.
Okay, what
All
else
right.
have we got? Yeah. Sorry, I was looking for something. Escape. All right.
It's okay. I'm gonna make a suggestion.
Okay.
The town, like our supervisor's report does not really tell us. I mean, it gives us balances, but like the revenue, what is the revenue that we get? It's not broke down for us to see.
I'm not understanding your comment, I apologize. So on your reports, so on the report, no matter which one you're talking about, revenue or expenses, the first column is the receipts and expenditures for that month.
What do you,
Your operating statements?
okay,
So that first column where it says monthly amounts, that's
Right.
the revenue or expenditures for that month, for that line item.
right, but we don't know what it is though. Like what the expenses, like revenue with deposits. Like when you get to the income, like we have no idea what the actual deposit consists of or what the revenue consists of.
Like where it's coming from, like whether it's
Right.
rent for the post office or revenue from trash and recycle, is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Like we don't have anything that's really kind of broke down as to tell us where this fund, what the funds are that we're getting.
Okay. I'm not sure what report I would give you unless it was every single transaction.
She's looking for a breakdown like this, and that would make this report huge versus
Well-
just if you
Well, that
want.
would be taking every single account and pulling it over and
Right.
printing it.
Okay, from the association's account or the controller's office, a monthly statement to the town board. At the end of each month, a detailed statement of all monies received and dispersed must be made to the town board with a copy filed with the town clerk. Other reports could also be submitted monthly, such as comparison of budgets, estimates and actual transactions, and analysis of investment activity and capital project statuses. Which, okay, but like we get a supervisor's report, but it doesn't. I don't like the revenue. Where does this revenue come from? You know what I mean? Unless
So your
you
taxes come from that's where I'm getting confused, like the taxes come from the taxes,
Okay,
interest comes from interest, rent comes from rent.
right, but like if we get a check from like the $250, how do we know that that $250 donation, what that was? Or,
It was a donation.
Right,
And you
we-
want to know from whom?
well, just from,
So you can do that when you audit the books at the end of every year. My understanding is that all comes out and it's available to you. You want that every month?
well,
Hold, please hold.
my favorite word is hope.
Okay. Please hold. Oh, the door's open.
Front door, the fellow I can see him, he's carrying materials in and out, that's doing the ventilation system.
Uh-oh. So what would you want to include with it, like deposit tickets, with copies of the checks and stuff, or what would you?
Just a lit, like, because I'm gonna brag about my daughter, because I think this is awesome. This is what she instituted in Petersburg. And I think it's very transparent, and everyone can make sense out of what.
Does she
it
use
is.
QuickBooks?
I don't know what she.
Ask her if QuickBooks is used. QuickBooks is not an authorized financial system for a town, so.
Do other towns get a breakdown like Becky's talking, or is this, the stuff that we get would say Nassau?
That's what I present everywhere.
This,
Okay,
this
cool.
is this.
Right.
And there's the ending balance, the ledger balance, and you
Yes,
start.
probably QuickBooks is what they're using.
She does this on Excel herself.
Okay.
But it shows like where the money came, all the deposits, the abstracts of the vouchers, and her vouchers equal what the vouchers equal. Where,
Yeah, well, you approve all the vouchers before I post them to you.
Yeah,
So
but
that's
I think there's-
redundant because we can use Vicky's report that you approve
Yeah,
behind it. Yep.
but our vouchers don't always equal what. I don't know if everything gets put on a voucher.
I'd be hard pressed to
Well, then they
think
don't
something
pay that.
doesn't.
Do we have insurances?
We have health insurance, yes.
Yep, and general liability insurance.
That's all on vouchers.
I don't do health.
The health insurance isn't, but we
Well,
can
right,
do
but
it
that's
that way,
auto
but you're
pay.
gonna run the risk of them not being paid in a timely fashion. And then,
But if you look, like, her ending balance is the beginning of the next month, and it equals.
yes.
And I mean, it's not,
Okay.
it's a one page. I'm not asking for 50 pages of a
Okay.
report. But to me, that's very transparent and very easy for people, the townspeople to understand. This is where we got our money from, this is where we spent it, and this is the ending balance. But I'm just making a suggestion.
Okay.
And I don't know who would be responsible to do that, but
We are meeting our fiduciary responsibility with the reports that you're currently getting.
and I'm not saying that we're not, but I'm just saying it's not very, to me, to look at this, to go through and like the revenue, okay, we got revenue, what is it? Can you show me how I mean, it shows the monthly coming in, but where did it come
You
from?
present your clerk's report, right?
But the
That's
rent.
No, I know.
That's
I'm just trying to figure out at what level, right? The majority of it comes through on your report. There's very little that comes through our office. You know, the rent does and things like that, but.
Oh,
And we do the fines through vouchering now also. Is that good?
Court fines and
Yeah.
yeah, the
where
court
we
fund.
did it before.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll leave that up to you guys to decide who's going to do that. Right.
Well, that's.
I just made a suggestion.
Appreciate the suggestion.
Wendy, I would like to ask about your availability as we get into budget season. We like to have that session of adding numbers in, you know, live time numbers. If
Yeah, shoot me some dates and times and I'll see what I can do.
Okay. Okay. You follow what I'm asking?
Yes.
Much numbers for us?
We can
Right
have
now, when's the
good now.
letter going out?
They'll be given to department heads for September 1st, if not a little bit earlier.
Okay.
And then they're due back constitutionally by September 20th.
Right.
Department head requests.
There's a whole
And then we
timeline
start.
of that.
Okay. And then we start, then I forward them to Wendy typically, and she puts them in. But I've also been able to do it myself with a little assistance on the side, so. But for the preliminary, you know, when we get into almost to the final part, we'll throw you some dates. See what we can do. Okay, well, that's good to hear. Okay.
I'm going earlier to Florida, so I should be here for that.
So my takeaways, if I'm still right, we want to know who's being paid at 1620. I'm going to check if 2665 is a legitimate code for sale of equipment. And you had a concern about the cash on the balance sheet to the AUD. Did I answer that with the $25,000 that needed to go to the highway
Right.
fund? So you're all set with that then?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I know it was 25 off on each one. So
Yeah,
what is
that's,
it?
that's what it would have been then. I can also get a link to the reserve guidance from the comptroller's office for you all to have to decide how you want to use those reserve funds going forward.
That would be great.
The first thing though, you have to figure out how they got there. Figure
Right.
out how they got in, so then you'll know how you can get them out.
Right.
And they've been there as long as I've.
Right.
Thank you. I think that's would be great.
All right. Just want to make sure. Takeaways.
Anything else? All right, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Good meeting.